Let us begin with Ansible today. Ansible is a configuration management tool. What is meant by configuration management? Suppose you have 100 servers, right? A huge infrastructure. All these 100 servers, let's suppose you want to make some changes or else install a package or start a service or deploy something. So if you do it manually, right, you have to log into each server, execute the commands, right? This has to be done 100 times. And during this process, it would take a lot of time, more people should be working, more effort, right? Also error prone. Everything is manual, so it's obviously error prone. These are all the challenges we have. Also, when you configure it, later on these configurations, there is chance that these configurations may get modified or changed. Correct? So these are all the challenges we have. So to overcome this, we have something called configuration management tool, which can do all these mass configurations. Not only mass configurations, mass deployments. Right? If you want to deploy your Docker container on 100 servers, Ansible can do that very efficiently. In simple, it can help you to have control over the infrastructure. Means you have a detailed history of what is happening on what server, right? So this complete detailed history will help you maintain the log, right? You know completely what is happening, what configurations are present on what server. This kind of process, this kind of configurations are done through these tools like Ansible, Puppet, Chef, Salt, and so on. These are all the different configuration management tools. Once infrastructure is ready, configuration management tool comes in picture. You can also use Ansible to provision or to create the infrastructure, but it's great in configuring it. So that's what a configuration management tool does. And so Ansible is an open source IT configuration management, deployment, and orchestration tool, which aims to provide large productivity gains to a wide variety of automation challenges. A lot of automation can be done with Ansible. Ansible is a simple tool, yet it is very powerful, and it uses push configuration. What is meant by push configuration? We'll see in some time. So infrastructure as a code. Again, it uses a concept called infrastructure as a code, right? You write some code which will configure the infrastructure. So it enables automation of IT tasks by provisioning the code rather than manually handling each phase for different environments. Here is some configuration management code which will configure the infrastructure. Means you write some script. This script could configure your infrastructure. Your infrastructure could be on-prem or on cloud or any physical service, right? It could automate that. It bridges the environmental differences ops teams encounter every time they had to deploy a new code. And once configurations are done with Ansible, like I said, there is no chance of automatically updating or upgrading those configurations. You'll have a complete control on the infrastructure once you are using any configuration management tool. And before configuration management tools, they used to use the shell scripts to configure the infrastructure. Shell script to manage and configure the infrastructure. Shell scripts are see here, this is a shell script to create a user called Spock. This is the same script, means it's a script to create the same user. You can see the difference. A shell script is a bit difficult to understand, whereas configuration management tool script is human readable. Just by reading it, you can understand majority of the code. Right. Also, when configuration management tools came in, shell scripts became almost obsolete. And only configuration management tools are used because, like I said, shell scripts are difficult to understand. If some person writes a shell script, it is difficult for others to understand this. So these are the challenges you have. And push configuration. Ansible hosts do not have client software installed on them, and it uses push configuration. Like, see, you have an Ansible controller machine or Ansible server, a single server where Ansible is installed. And this pushes configurations to the target machines. Like you have 100 servers, all these servers should be configured. So Ansible pushes the configurations to these hosts or targets, whatever you call it. So this is Ansible controller machine, which pushes the configurations to the hosts or targets. That's called push configuration. And there were other configuration management tools which uses pull configuration. Push configuration and pull configuration, we have certain differences. See here, push approach doesn't require agent setup on individual nodes like pull does. In push configuration, Ansible will be installed only on one single server, which will push the configurations to all the targets. Targets need not have any client software installed. That's why it's called agentless. Your server itself will push the configurations. But that's not the case with the full configured servers like Puppet. It is like a Puppet agent should be installed on all the machines, which will pull the configurations. Right? Push-based systems are completely synchronous. As you can see, the changes made instantaneously and can fix the system if changes cause problems. Systems using pull architecture can scale quite easily, which is not the case with push model. Right? When here the point is whenever you write some Ansible code and you run it, configurations are all immediately applied. Whereas in pull, agents have to pull the configurations. Let's say last pull happened at 7 a.m. Next pull will happen at 7:30. There is some regular pull interval. That's called polling interval. In Puppet, the default polling interval is 30 minutes. So it will poll only after 30 minutes. Right? Like one pull may happen at 7 o'clock, another pull will happen only at 7:30. Even though code is written at 7:05. So that's the difference. Changes are applied synchronously in push, whereas that's not the case with pull. Of course, you have to change that polling interval if you want to apply the changes immediately. Am I clear with the changes? Sorry, with the concept?
Yeah.
And then here are a few more differences. Better control over the infrastructure. Of course, you have that in pull as well, but pull is more effective when infrastructure is scaling. Even Ansible can handle it when your infrastructure is growing up or your infrastructure is scaling. Easy to manage and set up, whereas pull architecture systems are complex to manage and set up. Changes made are synchronous, whereas here changes made are not synchronous, like it's not immediately applied. It would be applied at regular intervals. And why Ansible? It is easy to set up and it is agentless, right? You don't need to install any agents on the target machines. This tool is very simple to use, yet powerful enough to automate complex multi-tier IT application environments. Like Ansible is very simple, architecture is simple, easy to set up, but it is very powerful. It can support scalable infrastructure of any size. Your infrastructure may be very huge, still Ansible can support that. And yeah, we have understood what is Ansible. Ansible is basically a Python application from Red Hat. Now let's look into the architecture of Ansible. Good to go, or any questions before we proceed?
No, Preethi.
So Preeti, just suppose it's a Red Hat, so it just support the Linux or it supports the other OS as well.
Ansible should be installed only on Linux.
Okay.
See, this is your Ansible server or Ansible controller machine, like where Ansible is installed. This should be Linux only.
Okay.
And your targets could be anything. They can be Linux or Windows, means it can configure Windows servers as well. But Ansible controller machine should be Linux.
Linux one. Okay, sounds good.
So, yeah, Ansible controller machine should be Linux and the targets could be anything. And also there is a prerequisite like Python should be present on both the controller machine and the targets. Like I told you, Ansible is a Python-based application. Python should be installed on all the machines. And of course, all the Linux systems, particularly the latest versions of Linux, comes with Ansible Python installed. So yeah, you will have Python. Also, Ansible connects to the targets via SSH, secure shell. So even a secure shell should be installed on all the machines. SH also comes by default for all the Linux machines. For Windows, it uses something called WinRM, Windows Remote Manager. So these are few prerequisites. Now let's suppose, okay, you have installed Ansible. Whenever you install Ansible, you will have something called modules installed by default. Okay, let's say these are all the different components you have. Let's talk about these 4 components and how they work. First one is modules. Whenever you install Ansible, you will get some hundreds of modules installed. Modules are nothing but command center in Ansible. They are like Python programs. Whenever you install Ansible or whenever you want to automate some target machine, you will call a module. Module is nothing but a command center. Like you will call a module to perform some task. Strictly speaking, modules are nothing but some Python modules, Python programs. You might have heard about it, right? Python modules. Yeah. So Python module to achieve some function. So there are hundreds of Python modules or Python programs which are downloaded when you install Ansible, which are nothing but these modules. You call that Python program to automate anything. If you want to automate anything, any target machine, any sort of functionality, you will call a module. So that's why modules are called command center, which automates actually. And those are Python modules. It doesn't mean that you should go and learn Python. You will just call those Python modules. That's all. You don't need to learn Python for this. So that's the first component, modules, command center in Ansible. And then comes the second component called inventory. Like we know, the dictionary meaning of inventory is nothing but list of items, grocery or a stationary items, right? A list of items. Similarly, here also it's called Ansible inventory. Ansible inventory is nothing but Ansible will have a list of its targets or hosts, that's called inventory, right? You can also group them like all the web servers or all the web servers or all the DB servers, right? Means you may group them depending on the type or depending on the platform, like all AWS servers or all GCP servers. Kind of like you may group them depending on their type or depending on the platform or depending on their environment, like all the dev servers, prod servers, and so on. So inventory is nothing but which will have the list of the targets where they are grouped. So you get all the information of the targets, their host, name, IP address, kind of details from this inventory, which is the second component. Clear with this?
Explain.
So that's the inventory. And the third component is called Ansible config file, which is nothing but ansible.cfg file, right? Ansible.cfg, Ansible config file, which will have all the configuration details, like the list of the hosts, the location of the playbook, location of the inventory, location of the modules, all those global settings would be present in the Ansible.cfg file. That's the third component. And then comes the playbook. Playbook is a very important component which we interact with as an end user. We write the playbooks. Playbook is nothing but a YAML file with extension .yml. YAML is written here, sorry, Ansible code is written in YAML. So that's a playbook. You call them as playbooks. Playbooks can contain any number of plays. Each play may contain any number of tasks. Meaning, see, this is your playbook, a YAML file. Each playbook will be starting with 3 hyphens. Sorry, each play will be starting with 3 hyphens. So this is play 1. Maybe this might be targeting one group of servers called DB servers. It may have multiple tasks like install a package, start the service, deploy something, right? And then you may have to start another like play two, which might be targeting web servers. And it may have again a bunch of tasks and so on. Right? So this is how a playbook can have any number of plays. Each play may have multiple tasks. Each task, how is it performed? By calling a module from the like modules command center. Means what is happening here? Your playbook is interacting with your inventory with Ansible config file because that's how it knows the path of the playbooks, inventory, and so on, right? And also it interacts with the modules. So playbook works like a glue which connects all the components. It has to work with a inventory means it should get the location of the inventory. It should know the location of the modules and so on. So it interacts with all the components, works like a glue. Good with all the 4 components?
Ansible config, it will have the details about inventory and models. That's only right.
Ansible can't have email. Can you come
Sorry,
up?
can you repeat the Ansible config? What are the details will be there?
Ansible config you are talking about?
Yeah.
Ansible config file will have the details of the inventory, the location of the inventory file, path of the modules, path of the playbooks, all the details will be present in the Ansible file. Their locations, their details.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
So these are the details present in Ansible. And then let's look into the Ansible process of execution. What happens when you run the playbook? See, whenever we run the playbook, like you write a playbook and run the playbook. Ansible playbook, whenever you write the playbook, whenever you execute the playbook creates a little Python package at the backend. Whenever you run the playbook, this is what happens. It will create a little Python package at the backend. And this package will be copied to the target. How is it copied to the target? Via SSH. You will open SSH connection with the target and that Python package. This is, of course, this is a Python package. Whenever you call the modules, your playbook will create a Python package at the backend. That's why Python should be present on controller machine. And that package will be copied to the target. And once package is copied to the target, that small Python package is executed on the target. That's why again Python should be present on the target also. So package is executed means configurations are applied. So once configurations are applied, what next? Once configurations are applied, so configurations are applied means automation happens. This Python package which is copied is deleted from the target. Like it's like a safe housekeeping method. It will clean the target machine. That's all. These are the steps. What happens when you execute the playbook, when you run the playbook at the backend. You write the playbook and you run the playbook. When you run the playbook, this is what happens at the backend. Your playbook will be calling the Python modules, right? So it will create a small Python package at the backend. And that will be copied to the target. And that package will be executed on the target. And also, once package is executed means configurations are done. Automation is done. And then this package is deleted from the target like safe housekeeping methods. These are the steps what happens at the backend when you run the playbook. Here, one more thing, package is copied on the target, means this small Python package, which will have the configurations. Let's suppose on this target, I have to install HADPD. It doesn't mean that HADPD is present here. This is pushed or copied onto the target. No, that's not the meaning. You will not have HADPD on the target. Am I making sense? You'll just have the configurations of what should happen on the target. That is what is copied. Executed there means those commands will be executed there so that HADPD will be installed on the target. It doesn't mean that HADPD will be copied from target to host. Got the point, everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So these are the steps that happens at the backend, and this is the process of execution in Ansible. If you are good with this, we shall go and set up Ansible. Minimum 2 servers are required. One will be Ansible controller machine and the other will be the Ansible target. You can have any number of Ansible targets. Can we go ahead? Let's
Yes.
do the Ansible setup and then we'll start with the hands-on. This is going to be Ansible controller machine. Amazon Linux 2. P2 micro, key pair is AWS key. Let me start Ansible target. Ansible host 1 or target, whatever you call it. Linux 2. P2 micro. I'm going to use a different key pair for Ansible targets. Let's say Ansible key. P2 micro. Will start installing Ansible. Just give me a minute. So let me connect to the controller machine. So this is going to be a controller machine and the other one is the host. So on the controller machine, let us install Ansible. You can install Ansible in multiple ways. Yeah, I'm going to install Ansible using pip package. Pip is a Python installer or Python package manager. So I'm using pip 3. You have Python 3 also available on this machine. I'm using pip to install Ansible. As an easy to user, I'm installing this. Right, so Ansible is installed. You can check the version with Ansible version command. Right, you can see Ansible is installed and everything is ready. So now from here, we need to open an SSH connection with this target machine, right? So we can do, we can use the existing keys. Like if you go to .ssh, right, you don't have any key. I'm going to store the private key of this machine. Like this target machine's private key is Ansible key. If I can create this, copy this key in here, I could connect to this machine, right? So that's what I'm going to do. Let me copy the key. So this is the key I'm going to use here. Create a file called private key, ID RSA, and place this key. Right? So the target machine's private key is available here. Okay, so the public key is anyway present on the target machine itself, means I'm going to use the existing key. So done. Now we can connect to this, and I would like to connect it via the inventory. And where is your inventory? You can create your inventory. In the home directory, I'm going to create the inventory. You can create the inventory file, right? I'm going to create it as host file or host inventory, something like this. Inventory, right? I'm going to create some simple file. And here you can put the IP address of your target machine. Where is the IP address of the target? This is the machine, and this is the machine's private IP. Okay, so, and then there is an attribute to provide the file name, like private key Ansible SSH private key file. So the key file path is home directory dot SSH ID RSL. And then Ansible user is EC2 user. Right? So this is the, like you have the private key file, Ansible user who is EC2 user, and the private key. And then here you need to provide, let's suppose I have 10 servers. I want to group them. If you want to group them, you can create the group name in the square brackets like this, web servers. So now whatever listed under this web servers will be in the same group. Suppose I have a second server, right? I can put the IP address and all the attributes. So this would be also under web servers group. As of now, I have created a group called web servers, which is having one host. Is this inventory file clear for everyone? Are we good?
This key we need to define the here itself in inventory.
What you need to define?
Key file.
Key file name means the location, the path of the key file you have to mention here. This server is going to connect to the target, and this server's private key is present in this particular path.
Okay. If it's on-premise servers also, we need to create the separate key and then we have to put over here, or
Yes, you have to do that. You have to provide its key file path. This is a such concept. Private key should be present here,
okay.
and the respective public key will be present on the target.
Now,
So
what if I have multiple keys for multiple servers?
you have to list them here.
Now, IDRSA will be same file, right? So should I give IDRSA one
Yeah,
ID?
different files. Different file names, yes.
I should not append them the same file, uh, likewise, different files.
If it is using same file, you can mention the same private key. If it is a different key, you can mention the different key file names. File names will be different.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Okay, now let me call this Ansible -i inventory. Like I'm checking the inventory, or else let's say I just want to check this connectivity. You can also do Ansible ping pass the inventory -i host inventory and the target. What is the target name? Web servers. What is ping? We'll see. Just run this. Ansible command is altered. Ansible This is the command, right? Ping is the module. Like we discussed about the modules, right? This should be identified with M. See, it is asking for confirmation. This is your target. For the first time, it will ask for confirmation QS. And it says unreachable fails to connect. Yeah, because it's unprotected key file. Permissions are too open. What you have to do? ID RSA permissions are too open. You read permissions only for the user. chmod ID RSA 400 invalid. Oh, sorry.
You need to give 400 first, right?
Yeah. Right. So now let us run this again. Ansible minus ping, calling ping module, passing the inventory file, and the group name is web service. See, ping sends a response in the form of Pong means yes, it could successfully connect to the target. Whatever, how many targets are present here, all those targets will be pinged. I have only one target, so that particular target is pinged. Ping means it tried to connect. Yes, it could get the response, and so that's how ping is one of the module. I told you, right? There are hundreds of modules. You will get it downloaded when you install Ansible. So ping is one such module. Ping is to check the connectivity. Ping module sends a response in the form of Pong means it could connect to the servers under this web servers. If you have another server, it would have connected to that also. It would have pinged that machine as well. If you want to see all the list of modules, Ansible doc minus self. It will show you all the list of modules. See, you can browse through up and down arrows. Their description is present there. Or else if you want to see a particular module, Ansible doc ping. See, it is present in this path. I told you, right? Module will be downloaded and module is nothing but a Python program. Do you see ping.py? So I'm calling a ping Python program. All right, this is the flow you should understand. Calling this Python program, what it does, a trivial test module. This module always returns Pong on successful contact. These are all the different parameters you have, the documentation, official documentation, and who developed it. Ping.py is nothing but a program. There is another team of developers for Python. Python is an application where you have a separate team of developers led by Michael Dehan. So that's what it says, some examples. Got it? And if you go here, this is the path of the modules. Do you see this? Here are all the Python modules with extension py. These are your modules we were talking about. You will be calling these modules to automate the task. You don't need to go and understand the code. Understand that those are the programs we call. So let's see some other modules. First, pass the inventory pose. Okay, and then minus M module, command module. There's a module called command module with which you can execute some commands on the targets. Let's say I want to check some time. I want to identify some runtime, uptime kind of. So minus A to pass the arguments. And what is the target group name? Web servers. So it will give you the target group name. The target is up from how many minutes? 15 minutes. So that's how you have a command module to check the uptime of your servers. And then Ansible pass the inventory. And then let's suppose you want to create a user. Even that can be automated, or else before that, let me show you command module. Like I have shown you ping module, command module. See, command.py. This is the module which will be executed on the selected nodes, right? Similarly, let's say I want to create some user. See, do you remember or have you identified we did not log into the target at all till now? You have nothing to do there. That's what is it's agentless. We did not install any agent software like Ansible's components there. But just to check our configurations to test whether automation is happening or not, I just want to connect it. I'm connecting through browser. Here, let's say I just want to check if HTTPD is present. HTTPD web server, you remember, right? I just want to install that package here. Or else first, let's create some user. Let's say I want to create user John. Even that can be automated. John user is not there. You can automate that with Ansible again. -I inventory -m user module. Pass the arguments like name of the module is John. Password is also John. What's missing? Yeah, target is missing. You should mention the target. There could be multiple groups in the inventory, right? So you should mention your group. And it says it failed. Because the user can be created only with the root users, right? But I'm running this as a normal regular user. So if you want to run this as a root user on the target, you can escalate the privileges by using a flag called become. So if you use this, what happens? Your command will be executed as a root user on the target. This is nothing but escalating the privileges. You want to run this as a root user on the target so that it can create the user. It can automate creating the users. So let us run this. User, and by the way, -a is arguments. There were so many arguments you can pass. There'll be list of arguments when you see the documentation. So you can pass the arguments, whatever you are looking for. So pick up. So you can see here. All right. So user is created, user John is created. Now let's see whether it is created on the target or not. See here, John user is created. Do you see that? Yeah. So imagine always multiple servers means huge infrastructure. When I say web servers, I'm just looking at one server, right? But your web server could have any number of servers. You have to list them in your inventory. That's all. Once your web service is having 100 servers, all of them will be automated. And all of this automation would be happen in serial, like one server after the other. Are we good? Serially configuration would be applied on each server. So when you have huge infrastructure, suppose if you want to create some user or do any automation, this is the best filter. Rather than logging into each server and creating the user manually, this is how you can automate. Right? Any task, installing packages, all of that can be automated in a similar way.
Yes, Preethi, I do have one doubt here. So when we did a ping for the first time, right? While doing the SSH, it was asking for the manual confirmation of that yes to get it added into etc node host or whatever.
Yeah.
So if I have a huge infrastructure, I cannot go and give yes for 100 times or 1,000 times for the first time, right? Even and inventory also will keep on getting updated with my new servers. So every time when the playbook is running, it should not get stuck for asking for the manual input, which will lead to the playbook not to get completed at all the times, right? So do we have any other options to overcome that manual input also?
Yeah, we can automate that in the default settings. I told you, right? Ansible.cfg. There you have an option where you can suppress that manual intervention. Okay, we will do that when we run this Ansible playbook from the Jenkins. Like in the pipeline, it shouldn't be like if you remember, we have suppressed that using host key checking. If you remember in Jenkins, right? Similarly, you can suppress that in the Ansible.cfg file. We will do that when we run this via the playbook. I mean, via the Jenkins pipeline. There is a way to do it. Any more queries?
Yep. In, in job will run as the multiple servers as a serial pattern only, right? If anything is failed, how it will be continue for the another one?
If one server fails, it will go to the next server. It will not pause there.
Okay, it won't wait for any timeout and all. Just it will fail and it will go for another server. That's it, right?
Yeah. If you have 10 servers, it will apply on each server one after the other. Even though one server fails, it will go to the next server.
Okay. How about the task also? Inside the task, we are giving the multiple tasks, right? Inside the playbook. If only one of the tasks is getting failed in few servers, it will go continually or
See, you are
I
talking
mean,
about the series of tasks or the series of
yeah.
servers.
Series of servers first I got it, and the next one is a series of tasks.
Series of tasks, we'll write a playbook. We did not start writing a playbook yet. Whatever we are running here are called ad hoc commands. One-time usage commands where you can quickly automate. We'll come to the playbooks, then you will see the series of tasks, like the order in which the task will be executed.
Okay.
So, like we have seen others, you can see the user module as well, Ansible doc user. So user.py, that's what is called when you call this program. And these are all the different parameters you have, right? You can browse through and we have passed certain parameters. These are all the parameters out of which I have passed name parameter. Do you see? Here equality indicates it's a mandatory parameter. You have to pass it for sure. And then the password parameter. Do you see? This is what I have used. So you have different parameters. Parameters are predefined. So you can pass those parameters and configure it. Similarly, let's say I want to install HTTP. Ansible -i, the inventory file name, and then the module name is, there is a module called yum module. Module name itself is yum. Okay, and then pass the arguments. Name of the module, HTTPD. And then state of the module, present. Present means it should be installed or present. And the target name is web servers. Is the command clear? Module, parameters, and then the target. So if you run this, see permission, you need to be root to perform this. So to escalate the privileges, become flag. It should install HTTPD web server on the targets. As many number of targets you have, it would be installing there. See, some change happened, means configuration might have been applied. If you just go and check for HTTPD, yes, you will see, okay, it's not saying command not run, okay, package is installed. So here, whatever commands we are using, these are nothing but ad hoc commands. One-time usage commands, a single time usage commands. And this is the yum module. See yum.py, m.py. These are all the different attributes. Name of the module, state. I have used state, right? Those are predefined. How do you know? You have to go through the documentation and you should know. Also, you should use the valid values like present, install, latest means it will be present. If you want to uninstall also, it's the absent argument. Means there are attributes. Also, the valid values are predefined. You can't use your own values. Am I making sense? Right? That's how you use the module. But whatever commands we have used, like etc., these are ad hoc. I have installed package. If tomorrow I have to use this again, I have to write this command again. Also, after installing package, I may have to start the service, right? It's not running. You can check the status, systems, ETL, status, HTTPD. It's not running. It's installed, that's it. So you have to start the service, you have to deploy something. You may have a series of tasks. So how to perform those series of tasks? These ad hoc commands are for like, if you want to do something quickly, if you want to get some information from the target, you may use it. Correct? But if you want to execute a bunch of tasks, a set of tasks, a series of actions, this is not possible. That's where to automate this better, you have the next concept in Ansible called playbooks. Right? Playbook is nothing but which will have, again, the concept is same. You will call the module, you will automate the targets, but playbook provides you a better functionality where you can automate the series of or a set of tasks. So let's do the same with playbooks. Playbooks brings a better automation. So let us write a playbook. You may give any name to your playbook, playbook1.yml. It should be in extension with YAML. So every playbook begin with 3 hyphens, like we mentioned, we discussed some time back. Then there are few mandatory options like hosts. What is our group name? Web servers. And you want to run the by escalating the privileges, right? Do you want to run the playbook by escalating the privileges? Yes. And you want to escalate the privileges as what user? Become what user? These are the few mandatory options. Then comes the list of the tasks. So you can mention the list of the tasks. Like name of the task. This is user defined, like install HTTP. And then, so what is the module you use to install the package? AM module. Name is HTTPD. State is present. Only the way you use is changed. That's all. The concept, everything is same. After installing this, I may have to start the service. Start HTTP, right? Another task, another module, service module. This is another module. Name is HTTPD. State equal to started. So that service will be started. So I have list of tasks. Now, do you remember playbook can have any number of plays? Here I'm having one play with the 2 tasks. Each task is calling a module. First task is calling M module. Second task is calling service module. Are we clear with this? Good.
Yes.
So playbook is ready. But before I run the playbook, I would like to show you one more thing. What if I rerun this installation again? HTTP installation, will it reinstall? It says success, no change, right? Like idempotency. Ansible also follows idempotency. See, it's already installed, right? All the configuration management tools and infrastructure as code tools uses idempotency. If changes are in place, it will not reapply. Same is the case with the playbook. This is my playbook. First, let's run the playbook. There is a command called Ansible playbook. Playbook name, syntax check. This will help you any syntax errors. If no syntax errors, it will show you like this. Also, if you want to check the list of hosts that are going to be targeted, list hosts. It will list the hosts that are going to be affected by this playbook. See, it says only implicit localhost. Okay, it's because you have to pass the inventory. Let me pass the inventory. -i. List hosts. It should list the hosts. It's not listing one minute. Let me check the playbook. Web servers. We mentioned web servers. List hosts. Actually, this should list the hosts that are going to be affected by this playbook. Oh, okay, syntax check is working. You have to pass one flag at a time. Now, do you see? Host, this is the host, right? Host number also. Web servers group is having one host, and this is the host. If it has multiple hosts, it would have checked all of that. Right? Then what else? Suppose you want to do a dry run. Check flag. What is meant by dry run? Dry run is like a test run, preview, pre-check. It will not really apply the changes, but it will show you what happens if you run this. Okay. Means I have also the service task, service module, which should start the service. It says, yes, service changed. But if you see here, really, service will not be changed. That's called dry run. See, do you observe that? It's still inactive. Means this is called the dry run. It will not really apply the changes. It will just show you what changes would happen when you run. Because package is already there, like I said, idempotency, it says, okay, this is the change that has to happen. Now let us remove this and really apply the change. Right now the change should happen because that's not a dry run. Do you see that? Understood, everyone? So HTTPD installed on this server. There could be any number of servers you have configured it. If you hit this on port 80, you should see HTTPD. First of all, that should be added in the security rules. Edit the inbound rules. Add the rule for HTTP. Right. Right. So you may now add the content. You may deploy something in var www.html. So that's what is the message. Got it, everyone? So all the tasks present in this playbook are executed one after the other. This is nothing but a series of tasks. If I rerun the playbook, it just says okay because everything was in place. Do you see that? It will not reinstall or restart. That's what is idempotency. Are we good? Clear? Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, one question. We have used the Yum models, right? It will be Yum configuration based on the host machine, or it will be a target machine, because the host will be the different versions also might be later, right? It will.
Yum is a module which will configure on the machines which uses Yum package manager. Installs, upgrades, downgrades, packages through Yum package manager. It uses Yum package manager at the back. This module only works on Python 2. Like it uses Python. What about Debian systems? You have to use another module for them. That's what is different place, different groups comes in. Debian servers maybe. Tasks. You will call name, some name, and then you have a task like apt-get. That's again another module. You'll use this to install on another group of servers. Understood?
Okay. Yeah.
So this is second play for another type of service. You have different modules. Ansible doc, some module called apt or apt-get is there. Yeah, apt. So you should call apt module. Manage app packages for Debian or Ubuntu systems. Again, the same. You have name, state, and so on. right? See, name, a list of package names. Whatever you want to install. State, latest means latest version is installed. Understood?
Yeah.
Any more queries?
Yeah, instead of calling the modules, even we can use the command like arguments yum install httpd also
Yum
kind of
install?
thing. No, you ran the ada command uptime, right? That is a normal command, right? So the similar way also, instead of using the module, yum module, we can use the argument. I mean, simple command line with that yum install
Here you have to
httpd
use
also.
command module. There is a module called
Yeah.
command module, which will help you run the commands, but you use command module and run the command. Each time the command should be executed. It's not an efficient way of doing it. You have separate modules to configure the packages like yum module, app modules, and so on. Command module will just execute the command blindly. That's what it does. It doesn't maintain state. If it doesn't maintain state, idempotency doesn't work. So you have to use the respective modules. That's a better way.
Okay. Okay, what in case if I have given some HTTPD name wrongly? Let's assume that I have given HTTPD or something, right, on the first task. So obviously the installation will not happen. So will it still continue to run on the second task and try to start the start module, or since the first module itself not moved to present state, it will not move to the start phase?
If it fails, it will go to this one. Okay, but this will fail because it's not there. If package is not there, how can it start it?
Yeah, so obviously the second one also will fail, but my question is,
It
so
will
will that second will be executed, or since the first one is failed, it will not even attempt to have the second one run? That's what I'm asking.
It will execute. It will go to the
It will
second
execute.
task.
Okay, so it will go to the second module and even second module will fail. Okay.
Second task, it will go to the second task, and second task will fail because it's dependent on first.
Okay. Okay.
So we will work on playbooks tomorrow. We'll create multiple playbooks for different tasks. That's the agenda for tomorrow. And also we'll look into the concept of roles. Any more questions here in this part?
Yeah. Do we have any prerequisites on the target machines, Preethi, for on-premises at least?
SSH,
Or
Python should be installed. We discussed, right? We discussed the prerequisite. Those prerequisites are applied for any platform. I did not mention this is for AWS or something. For Ansible, those are the prerequisites. You should have SSH Python on both the machines. These two packages are the prerequisite. Whether you are having on-prem servers or servers on AWS. For Ansible, that's a prerequisite.
okay, because I see that hyphen become, right? I suspect that hyphen become is by default it is via doing via sudo, or it is via Python. That hyphen become I could not understand how it is converting as root user. See, since it's an Amazon Linux, by default the EC2 user is having sudo privileges, but the same cannot be applicable for all these servers, right? If
Here,
it is
this
in
is
on-prem.
not the EC2 user. This is not the EC2 user it's working with. It is working with EC2 user on the target machine. Right? Sudo is different. Sudo
Yeah.
is if you want to run this as a sudo command, like that's what where Ansible is installed. You want to run this as a root user on the target machine. Here I mentioned root. That's why it's running as a root. If you mention here EC2 user, it will work as EC2 user. The default behavior of the Ansible become user attribute is like you mention the username. If you don't mention the username, it will run as root user. Whether it is AWS or on-prem, it will run as a root user only if you don't mention this option. That's why earlier when
Uh,
it become flag, it used to run as a root user. It's irrespective of
Yeah,
whether it is a physical server or AWS server.
yeah, I got that, Preethi, but my question is that how that become is happening at the OS layer on the target machine? Is that is via sudo package manager, or is that is via the Python package, whatever is getting pushed from the Ansible server? See, the become is happening as root user on the target machine.
This is become true, right? This is for, do you want to escalate the privileges and run this playbook? Otherwise, if you don't escalate the privileges and run this playbook, it will be running as EC2 user on that machine. Why EC2 user? Because we have configured EC2 user during the connectivity. During the SH connection, we connected as EC2 user. If you see this file, IDRSL. Okay, I'm exited.
No, Preeti, I got your point. What I mean to say is let's take an example of the John user what we created right now, right? So if I want to run the if I want to configure the Ansible to run via John user, I need to I need to create a SSH private key and public key for John user, and I have to
No, here you have to write John. Here you have to add
no
John.
the first step itself. The first step itself in the Ansible inventory, you have configured EC2 user, right? If I need to connect to the target machine as John user, let's assume, I need to create a private key and public key of John user. And that private key has to be pushed to the Ansible controller machine.
Yeah.
And then the SSH connection will get established. But obviously, John will not have any sudo privileges. So still, will that user will able to become as root or not?
No. This user, EC2 user will not become a root user. That's why when I'm running the playbook, it's failing. He will not become root user just because you added it. You have to add the root user. That's what I added here.
I think still, yeah, I got that point.
Let's say you added here John user, right? So you added here John user, you are SSHing as John user. Doesn't mean that John user has got sudo privileges. So still, if you want to run it with a root user, you have to put here root only.
Yeah, but will that still work? That's what I'm asking.
It worked here, right? EC2 user I have here, root I have, it worked. If you put John, it will work. What is the point there? It could be John or EC2. How is it making the difference?
Yeah, that's what I was my question. So John will not have any sort of sudo privileges. If you go to EC2 user and give sudo-L, you will be having the privilege of no password root all, right? That's what we given in the while generating the slave configuration for Jenkins. The similar way, John will not have any sort of sudo privileges now. So if John is becoming as root, how that privilege he is obtaining? Is it via sudo package manager or is it via from other package manager?
Just apply, okay, try with the John and then come back to, right? You try with the John user and you check these configurations and then let me know. You have to do it. Try doing it and let me know. So that you will have clarity on your question as well. I'm not getting the point of how John and root are connected here. Try doing it and let me know. Only one thing I could say is, here you are running as a root user, right? It's working. Only the thing is, on any different server, you should also pass the root user password. That is the only difference you will have. But John or EC2 is not going to change anything. Try it out from your end and let me know. As it is easy to
sure,
we need not provide password for root user because we don't have password for root user. If it is any physical server, like you are saying become user, you should also pass the password here for root user. Here we don't need it on EC2. That's the only difference. But whether it is John or EC2 user doesn't make any difference. So you try out and let me know in the next session.
Yeah, Preethi, I will try.
All right then, we'll close here and continue tomorrow. Thank you all. See you. Bye.